Nancy came into my life. Oh my gosh, how many years ago, Nancy?
22 years ago on the 13th of November.
22 years ago. You know, you never know when you're going to have a blessing walk in the door. And she didn't just walk in the door, she blew in the door. And we've done life together. We've laughed together. We've cried together. And God, can you believe we've survived teenage years and marriages and grandchildren and divorces. We've just been able to do life together. And you know what? I think we still like each other.
That's right.
So,
can you believe though, really, Mary Beth, it's been 22
no,
years.
We're not that old, Nancy.
No, and it just goes by so fast.
I know. I can't believe it. I was thinking about that too. In fact, I was shocked at the retreat when you said, oh, today's my 22nd anniversary. And I'm going, I'm not that old.
I was 38, you guys, 38 when I started Mary Kay. I feel like I'm still 38.
I know, we were just babes. Well, we still are, right?
That's right.
Well, Nancy, what I want you to do is maybe, because a lot of my unit do not know you because they weren't, maybe some of them weren't born yet.
Probably so.
But do you want to just share a little bit about you and whatever you want them to know about you?
Okay, well, first of all, I do not have the Rona, just so you know. The coffin.
No Rona here.
No Rona. I had a terrible sinus infection that led to an upper bronchial infection, and I've been on antibiotics, and now I just got this draggy cough, and during the day I'm perfectly fine. Comes evening, why is that? I don't know, but I start coughing again. It just drives me crazy. But so bear with me.
It's okay. We forgive you.
I'm going to give you some lessons in this, and I hopefully I give you some lessons in this at the same time telling you my story a little bit. When I started Mary Kay, you guys, first of all, nobody ever walked up to me, handed me their business card and a sample and said, oh my goodness, I'm with Mary Kay and I'm always on the lookout for sharp women, and I couldn't help but notice you, and I would be honored if you'd give me your opinion on this sample. You know, something. Nobody ever warm chatted me, ever. Nobody invited me to a Mary Kay party. As a matter, and I had never ever been around Mary Kay any way, shape, or form, ever. So I was always a big believer of skincare, though. My mother's redheaded, freckle-faced, you know, fair-skinned. She gets
glow in the dark like me.
She gets 2 minutes of sun on her body. She turns red. Where I'm, on the other hand, I've never had a burn in my whole entire life. And when I was a teenager, I used to lay tinfoil out on the back patio, and I'd lather up with baby oil and iodine. And do
not do this at home.
Do not do this at home. This is before we knew about skin cancer.
Yeah.
and wrinkles, you know. But I used to lay the tinfoil out on the back patio, lather up with this baby oil with iodine, and I'd lay out there like a piece of bacon and just fry, baby fry. And my mother, she used to throw me a towel out the back door. She'd say, if you want the rest of you to wrinkle up like an old prune, that's fine, but at least, Nancy, cover your pretty face. To this day, I think, oh, thank you, Mother. You know, that she was advanced enough to know to take care of my skin. So I had always been a big believer in skincare and take care of here up. You know, gosh, I look like this and I go, dang.
It is interesting how we start wearing turtlenecks at a certain age, right?
I wish I'd taken care of it a little lower down. My grandmother always wore scarves around her neck. And I asked her one time, Grandma, why do you always wear a scarf around your neck? It's 90 degrees outside. And she'd say, I have a creepy neck. Not crepey. She'd say, I have a creepy neck. She said, I always took care of it from here up, but I didn't take care of it down there. And she says, don't ever think you get to the point that you don't care what you look like. Mm-hmm. Girls, I'm here to tell you, I was 38 years old when I started Mary Kay. Mm-hmm. I'm 60. You never get so old that you don't care what you look like. You're never, ever, ever going to get that old. So, you know, how blessed and highly favored we are in a business where you get 50% off the best-selling brand in America, right? So anyway, I used a skincare line back then, and the skincare line that I used, they discontinued it. And I went looking for skincare, plain and simple. And I worked for a hair company, and I'd fly out on Wednesdays generally and not fly back home till Sundays. And I also, on that part of my job that I did, I also PR'd signature salons. Well, many of you probably know Hope Aromas. Hope was my recruiter, but Hope had a salon in Seward at the time. And I walked in one day because I said, I'm going to tell you, after I was sat there and I thought, okay, skincare, what skincare? So at that time, 22 years ago, most households did not have a computer, just so you know. I did have one because of work, because I was working. It was different. You know, I basically kind of worked from home, except from that Wednesday through Sunday. You know, basically my job, a lot of my jobs were basically from home, and that was unheard of back then, you know. But I crawled on the computer and I just typed in the search engine skincare. This is where the first God wink showed up, you guys. Popped on that search engine was a logo that said America's best selling brand, Mary Kay. And I sat there and I thought, I wonder who does Mary Kay. Because see, nobody had ever asked me. I had no clue, you know? And so that was one God wink, okay? The second God wink, I believe, was popped in my head. I wonder if that fragrance on Hope Aromas was her name back then, Hope Aromas' back bar. I wonder if that happens to be Mary Kay. Well, those of you that have not been in Mary Kay for 22 years may not be familiar with a bottle of fragrance called Elige. Elige was I loved that scent. Well, if you look at the Elige bottle, there is nowhere on that bottle does it say Mary Kay. There's another God wink. Because why did it pop into my brain? I wonder if that fragrance on Hope Aromas' back bar happens to be Mary Kay. Well, this happened to be like on a Monday or Sunday, and I knew I was going to Lincoln to the airport on Wednesday, so I thought I'll just pop in there on my way to the airport. And I popped in there that morning and she was on the phone, walked to her back bar, and I squirted some fragrance on me. She got off the phone. She said, "Hey, Nancy, how are you? What's going on?" And I said, "Hey, does this happen to be Mary Kay?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "Okay, well, I heard they have great skincare." She says, "Oh, they do." And I said, "Awesome." I said, I'm interested in getting some. And she said, "Okay." She said, I can get you some. I said, "Oh, you sell it?" She says, "Well, yeah." And I said, "Okay, well, I want to buy some from you." And she says, "Well, you have to go to this meeting with me on Tuesday night." Hope knows I pick on her on this, just so y'all know. I'm not talking
I
about
was just
her.
checking to see if she was watching.
Anyway, she says, "You got to go to this meeting with me." Okay. I had been to enough meetings in my lifetime. Here's a lesson. I had been to enough meetings in my lifetime to choke a cow. The last thing I wanted to go to was another meeting. And she did the right thing. She didn't sell me skincare right there out of the salon. She didn't do that because we're not supposed to, so she did the right thing. But she told me I had to go to this meeting with her and I said, "No, I just want the skincare." And she says, "Well, if you want the skincare, then you have to go to this meeting with me in Columbus." Well, long story short, I finally said, "Whatever, Hope, whatever." Okay. So she said, "Okay, I will come and pick you up next Tuesday night and we'll go to Columbus." So she had to drive from Seward to my house, from my house, because I lived in a town called Bellwood, my house to Columbus. So it was taking some effort on her part. Okay. So that's how it was left. I walked out of there without skincare, with thinking, dang it, I have to go to this meeting Tuesday night. And I kind of stressed about it. You guys, I kind of stressed about it, just so you know, all the rest of the week. There's another lesson in there.
Yeah, there is a lesson in that.
I stressed about it. It's like, oh my gosh, I do not want to go to this meeting. Oh, that's kind of how I felt about it. Okay. And I'm not saying Hope was bad or whatever. And she was busy, give her the benefit of the doubt that she was busy too. But I've thought about that a lot more. Had it been called Nancy, I'm looking for the sharpest model out there, and you just walked through the door. I would love to get your opinion. I'd love to be able to count on you. Words like that, if you'll come to this ladies' night out or glam slam or
which is what we were having that night.
That's what we were having. It was glamour shots, is what it was, type thing. So anyway, I stewed about it all week, and then that's kind of basically all I heard from her or whatever. And I remembered, just so you guys all know, I remembered when it came to Tuesday that she was picking me up at like 6 o'clock. Well, here's another lesson for you. It doesn't paint a very nice picture of me either. I made sure that I was not home when she come to pick me up. I porched her. I porched poor little Hope. I porched her. So have any of you ever been porched? Got your panties a little bit in a wad because somebody porched you?
Nancy, have you ever been porched?
Many times. And every time I got porched, I felt like I had it coming to me. So anyway, I porched her. Excuse me. And I just made sure, I gave it 15 or 20 minutes before I got home. I made sure that she would be long and gone before, I accidentally pulled on and she was sitting there in my driveway. Well, here is where another God wink comes along. I have a middle daughter. I have a middle child. If you've ever heard things about middle children, well, she happened to be that one. She could have cared less what I ever did in my whole lifetime. She cared less, And at that age, 14, 15, whatever she was, she really could care less what I did. But here's where another God wink came in. I walked in the door and she practically stuck her little finger up my nose and said, "Mom, you are so rude. That girl drove all the way from Seward to pick you up to go to something with her, and you happened to not be home. And I know you. You didn't forget. You did it on purpose, and that is rude." Ugh. She says, "You know what? If any one of us girls ever did that to somebody else, you would kick our butts all the way to Columbus. So you get yourself in the car and you get over there and meet with her." I'm thinking, wow, who's this kid? But at the same time, you guys, she was right. I would have never put up with one of my girls having that kind of integrity with other human beings. I would have never, ever put up with that. So I thought, she's right. So I hopped in the car. I drove over to Columbus. And the place was packed. I mean, there was so much going on that night. And I walked in the door and I went, "I'm here, better late than ever, Well, Mary Beth was doing this big group of people at these tables. And she says, "Oh," and she come up and, "Who are you with?" And blah, blah, blah. And I, told her. And she says, "Oh, well, we have a seat here for you." And I looked at her and I said, "I didn't come to have that done. I just wanted the skincare." She says, "Oh," in her so diplomatic way, she says, "Oh, well, that's one of the benefits of Mary Kay. You get to try before you purchase." Where I looked at her and I said, well, isn't your product guaranteed? If it is, then why do I have to try before I purchase? How would you like to have me, you guys? So anyway, Mary Beth, instead of her getting all flustered or anything like that, she handled herself with class, with grace, and professionalism. And she says, "Oh, you don't have to. Absolutely not. You don't have to. And I'm in the middle of this already. Do you mind if I just sit you back here? You can sit back and just watch what's going on a little bit. And as soon as I'm finished, I'll write you up your skincare and you can be on your way." I said, "Sure." So she pulls my chair back. Adi doesn't like that, just so you know. A dominating personality does not like to sit behind people. But she kind of just pulls my chair back and I'm sitting there like this, acting very uninterested, watching and listening to everything that's going on. And I listened to some things. And what I heard, you guys, was somebody that loved their life. I heard the enthusiasm and passion about why they loved their life. I heard their why story, why they had started Mary Kay, what had happened while they've been in Mary Kay, and where they were going with Mary Kay. That's a why story. And Mary Beth's story, you know, I've listened to it, where how she was before she started Mary Kay, where she was at. And I listened to her talk about her boys, and I listened to her about her and Joe's relationship. And I had a sucky relationship at home, you guys. And I sat there and I remember having that feeling on the inside of, gosh, I'd love to have some of that. I'd love to have some of that. Because see, what the outside world didn't know, the outside world, if you viewed me, most people viewed it as I had it going on. What they didn't know was my home life was a mess, my financial life was a mess, and my heart was a mess. You know, you can't always you can't always look at the book cover alone. And I had a wall up around me that was a wall of protection. Why my D personality was so strong was the wall protection. Plain and simple, that's what it was. And I think Mary Beth probably kind of knew that even within the first 5 minutes of visiting with me or whatever. She felt that, she's seen that, she sensed that. She knew that there was something more to me than what I was portraying. Anyway, I sat there and I listened. She gets all finished up. She comes right to me and she went to go write me up my ticket, asked me what I wanted, and she gets the ticket all wrote up. And I said, okay, but I heard that I could get this at 50% off if I sign up. Well, yeah. Is there any quotas? I asked that question. I remember asking, is there quotas? Is there something I have to do every month? Oh, no. And I said, okay, then that's what I'm going to do. And so I went ahead and ordered my starter kit. She was very smart. She knew I was leaving town the next day because visiting with me. She found out. She asked me enough questions and listened to me to find out where my needs may be and how she could fill it. Plain and simple. And isn't that what we're supposed to do in Mary Kay? Find the need and we fill the needs. And she did that. And she knew with my personality, she knew she was smart. She had that starter kit at home and she wanted to get my hands into it ASAP, the information. So she had Dusty come and run me the starter kit, and she pulled out an Applause magazine. She told me in there's an Applause magazine. So on the plane ride home, you guys, I remember, I took that Applause magazine with me and I went to the airport the next day, and I can remember reading that Applause magazine on the airplane and remember seeing the pictures across the top. And the one that really stuck in my brain was Barbara Sundin. And that month, she had something like a $79,000 paycheck. I remember seeing that. And I remember seeing Barbara Sundin's picture. Now, I love Barbara. She is so darn cute. And sometimes their pictures didn't get updated like they should have. Right. But Barbara Sundin had this hairdo. And then these big earrings that were about as big as her little head. And I remember looking at this Applause magazine, this picture of her, thinking $79,000 or whatever it was, and thinking, oh my goodness, I'm every bit as cute as she is. I'm teachable, I'm trainable, I can learn to do this. That was kind of, but I'm going to tell you guys what almost stopped me. Really plain and simple. Prior to Mary Kay, going to high school and even started in grade school, but I went all through school highly bullied, mean girls. And by the time I got to high school and went to college, I had this wall of protection around my heart. You are a female. I'll say, hi, how are you? I'll speak to you, but you are not going to be my friend. That's kind of how it was. Went to college and went through life, continuing that wall around my heart. Well, after so long, you know what? It is not a wall of protection anymore. It's an aura. And I really believe I probably stunk. I believe I smelled like garlic. Who wanted to be my friend? I was so unapproachable. Follow me? And so, a fear of mine was plain and simple. Oh my goodness, God, you got a sense of humor. When that got stirred up on the inside of me, that hope, because you guys, I want you to know also, I was one of these that used to lay in bed and I go, please God, get me off this hamster wheel. Just get me off this hamster wheel. I didn't know what it could be. And I'd hear people say they were doing this or they were doing that or they're going here or going there. And I think, well, that'd be nice only if I could, because I didn't have no means. I didn't know how I was ever going to be able to get myself out of that hamster wheel and that rut that I had got myself into. I needed a vehicle. And so when I listened to what Mary Beth said that night and the things she shared, and then when her and I visited that first night, it just stirred up more hope on the inside. It was like, this is it. This could be it. But then that fear of, oh my goodness, God, you have a sense of humor. I don't have any girlfriends, nor do I want any. I don't like girls. But you know what I always find is the thing we think we need the least is really the thing we need the most. And you guys, I love the trips I've taken. I love the diamonds. I love the recognition. The cars. I've loved everything about this business. But I'm going to tell you the thing that I have loved the most. And it is the girlfriends. Irreplaceable. People that sing my song back to me. People that have my back even when I didn't give them reasons or deserve to have them have my back. Because I haven't always been nice, you guys, just so you know. We're human, right? We don't do everything right. That's where grace and mercy comes in, But my Mary Kay girlfriends have been there through the thick and the thin. That's things that money can't buy. The self-esteem and the personal growth that I've gotten from this business, you guys, is irreplaceable. Irreplaceable. That no college education that I ever went through ever gave me even a smidge of that confidence. The life skills that we learn in Mary Kay, you can't find anywhere else. And so the next thing that about stopped me from working my business, and this is a big one, and I think it's really true in today's world, I just think it's a big one yet, is the fear of what will other people think.
Absolutely.
Well, I went to a career conference. And so I started in November, just so y'all know, and I really didn't do anything. I ordered Christmas gifts. I ordered my skincare. I ordered Christmas gifts. I did those kind of things, but I was not going to work this business. And it was the fear of what other people think. Let me tell you. Well, then I went to career conference, and this is really funny. Hope says to me, she says, Nancy, there's this conference. It's in Kansas City. And she says, oh my gosh, you've got to come with me. And I said, Hope, because I've been to a lot of conferences too.
A conference on top of the meeting.
Yeah. And she says, oh no, Nancy, it's like the biggest party of the year. It's like the biggest party of the year. And if you don't go, you're going to just be kicking yourself, because we're all going to be excited. We're going to be talking about it, and you're going to feel like you missed out. And I don't want you to feel like you missed out. And she says,
ding, 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 ding.
see, she sold the sizzle. And then on top of that, she said this. She said, Nancy, and if you don't go, I have to have somebody come with me. If you don't go, I can't go either.
Oh.
I couldn't let that happen, So I went to career conference, however she had to get me there. She got me there. And I'm still tickled. And I still think this is a huge thing that Hope did, because I'm a D personality, but because of Mary Kay, I got a lot of I. My I came out in Mary Kay. I was always an I, but the real life, the real reality of life, and all the icky stuff that had happened in life had smashed my I down and my D shined through. But really, I am an I with a D.
Yes, you are.
So Hope, she gets to that career conference, and she had this, the pink sticky notes. This is when we had the badges, you had the badge. Okay.
Right.
She had this pink sticky note, and she wrote on it, proud recruiter. And then my name. That was part of her ribbon. Go Hope! And I I remember being so proud of that. It was a lesson. Here's another lesson in this. Those that we are sisters and those that we're sponsoring in this, sing their songs, sing their praises. What you sing to somebody else is going to come back to you over and over and over again in so many different ways. Hope sang that praise, and I was so proud of that. And at that conference, I remember listening to, I remember it was Jillian Ortega, and it was Stacey James, and I cannot remember who the third person was. But I remember listening to Jillian Ortega's story, and she came 18 years old from Ireland with $20 in her pocket. And then most of you have heard Stacey James. She could sell the sizzle off of anything, right? And I just sat there and I listened to both of them, and it's just stirred up something more in my spirit. It was hope. What is hope, you guys? You know, I hope that, have you caught on? Our national area is the Hope National Area. And I'm so grateful to Hope Horomis. She offered me this opportunity. And what hope stands for is having only positive expecting, helping other people evolve into their God-given giant. You know, having only positive expectancy, I believe that's what most of us do not have in our lives. The real world don't have it. And we have it as a gift here in Mary Kay. And it was that conference that I went home and I thought, okay, nobody that I'm afraid of what they're thinking is going to write my paychecks or design my destiny. So why do I give two hoots what they think, what they say, or what they don't say, if they book with me or if they don't? And I'm going to tell you guys, I have a large family. I have sisters and sister-in-laws that have never tried Mary Kay, for me anyway. And it boils down to this, plain and simple, what I believe. They're scared to death that I'm going to become successful. It's kind of the crab. That's right. You know, it's right. It's kind of the crab philosophy. And I want to tell you what this is. The crab philosophy is this. You can throw a crab in a bucket. One crab in a bucket, you have to put the lid on it, or that crab will crawl up out of there. But you put two or more crabs in that bucket, you can leave the lid off, because one crab goes to crawl out, the other crabs will pull them back down. It's the crab philosophy. And I decided back then, after that career conference, and I sat down and I talked to Mary Beth and said, okay, what do I need to do? But it was at that career conference at the end of March, and I just made a decision to never look back, to not look back, to be obedient to what this business can do for my life, and a little bit too dumb to doubt. I made a decision also, I was just going to be a good student, and I was going to be too dumb to doubt.
And one of the things that Nancy did on a regular basis, she called me sometimes a couple times a day. Because we were both in the car a lot, and sometimes it was a couple times a day, because she needed to stay tapped in as a consultant as she was racing and becoming a director, and her early director days. And
that's a huge lesson. You know, I'm going to tell you a story on what other people think. There is a woman, she's still in your unit, but Brenda. Love Brenda. But here's just another lesson. And I think Brenda would be all right if I shared this. But I remember sitting in your living room, and I was, it was after that career conference, and I was working, I was running. I think I was in DIQ, or earned my car and I was in DIQ. We were sitting in your living room. As a fact, I know it was, because the Christmas tree was up and I earned my car prior to that. So we were sitting in your living room, and I was saying, you know what? I just can't believe nobody ever offered me Mary Kay. Because you guys, after I got into Mary Kay, I found out there was 10 other consultants in Bellwood, Nebraska, in a town of 300 people. How come I did not know that? I'm gonna tell you why. Because nobody was opening their mouths.
Right.
Plain and simple. And so Brenda had sat there and bless her heart, but I said, I just can't believe nobody had ever offered it to me. And Brenda got really quiet, and she said, because see her, I seen her at school, you know, she was from the same area. I seen her at school quite often, and she said to me, Nancy, do you know how many times I wanted to walk up and give you my business card, but I didn't. And the reason why was you scared you. That wasn't what you said. You intimidated the heck right out of me. And I'm going to tell you, I sat there for a few minutes because it kind of hurt my heart, hurt my feelers. You know, if anybody really knows me, I'm a soft heart. I get my feelings hurt very, very simply, very easily. And so it kind of hurt my feelers a little bit. And I sat there because if anybody knows me, that's the last thing I'd ever want to do is intimidate anybody, you know? Sat there for a few minutes and I finally looked at her. I said, you know what, Brenda, that's really too bad because, you know, the one thing that women don't have that intimidate other women, do you know what it is? And she says, what's that? And I said, friends. Friends. So there's another lesson in that, you guys. If there's somebody that is intimidating you, or that scary person, somebody on your chicken list, you really need to be talking to her because you don't know what's going on behind closed doors. You don't know what her prayers are at night when she lays her head down on the pillow. You could be the answer to those prayers.
I firmly believe God puts people in our lives at different times, and you were ordained to be in Mary Kay. And if someone didn't approach you, sooner or later, you're going to find your way in. I mean, sooner or later, somebody else is, or you're going to find a way, make a way. I mean, if God wants it, he's going to make it happen.
There is not an accident. I don't believe there's an accident at all of being in Mary Kay. Not one. And you are absolutely right. If you're not offering that person and introducing yourself and letting her experience Mary Kay or hear information about Mary Kay or whatever, if you're not the vessel will find that person. It just will. Plain and simple. And so what I want to share with you though, too, you guys, you know, in 22 years, a lot of things have changed. A lot of things, things happen. Life evolves. You know, I've been through ups and downs and ins and outs. And I think sometimes we get an obstacle or we get a snag and we sit down and we rest on our laurels, and it's kind of like licking our wounds, and we sit there and lick our wounds so they don't hurt anymore. And then it's like, okay, I can do it again. I can go after it again. And what happens, well, the time we're sitting there licking our wounds, we're not standing still, we're going backwards. So then when we gear all back up, it's just like starting back over again. We've got to stop that. You know, life is going to happen. It's life. And if the life hasn't happened to you, it's coming.
Right.
Because everybody's going to have life, you know. And when I think about this business in the 22 years, yes, I've been through a nasty, nasty divorce. I've been through, you know, a terrible relationship problem. I've been through deaths. You know, when my dad was dying of bone cancer, I was earning another Cadillac. Did I get to be able to spend time with him? Absolutely. I can remember being by his bed while he was dying, making phone calls because we were wrapping up another Cadillac. Do you see what I'm saying? I was able to take it with me. I got to spend that time with him. I've had kids get married. I've had grandkids come along. I've been able to spend time with them. And I've had a stage 4 diagnosis. My mother was diagnosed stage 4. I was able to spend time with her. And then when I got diagnosed, she got diagnosed with it again. Her and I hooked up to chemo. That's how we bond in our family. We hook up to chemo chairs. Anyway.
People have a glass of wine. No, you just pull up the chemo pump.
Yeah. So anyway, you know, hooked up to chemo, and, you know, that was at the time we were going national. And I really believe, and I feel like this is important to tell because it's a really a pivotal time in our life when something really horrendous happens. We can look at it as, okay, this is going to be just a detour. We're still going to get to the destination. And I want you to think about any journey that you take. If you're going to go to take a journey, you can stay on Interstate 80 and just stay on that main interstate. You're not going to see a lot. It's when you get off the back roads and have to go down through hills and valleys and twists and turns. You see some country, right? It's the same with anything in our life. And so our life is a journey. It's unfolding. Are we going to stay comfortable and safe? Are we just going to always stay comfortable and safe? Or are we going to get on some back roads and really live life and see life as God wants us to see it. And you know, when we were going national and I got that stage 4 diagnosis, the enemy kind of crawled up in my shoulder and whispered in my ear, and he said, you know, to me it was like, okay, is the enemy whispering, this isn't the time, I shouldn't be doing this? Is it God telling me, no, you need to take care of yourself, you need your rest? What is it? I was so confused for about 5 minutes. I left for a career conference. I had surgery on Thursday. I left for career conference at 9 a.m. Friday morning. I took my clothes to the hospital with me that I was dressing into the next morning to go to career conference. Did you see what I just said, girls? I'm not saying everybody has to do that, but I did that. There was no exception. I was going to career conference. And I had a big box of t-shirts, history in the making, history in the making. And I crawled in the back of the Cadillac. Aaron, Annika's husband, was driving it. And I remember thinking, okay, is God telling me this isn't the right time? Or is it the enemy throwing darts at me? What is it? I am so confused. And Annika said, you know, I raised her. She's really smart. Annika said to me, she says, Mom, there's not going to be any wrong decision. Whatever decision you make, it's not going to be a wrong decision. But what decision you decide to make, even though it's not going to be wrong, is it the one that you're going to be proud of? Or is it going to be the one that says, I'm so glad I did? Which one is it that you're going to be glad to be able to say that? Basically, in a nutshell, that's kind of what she said. I sat there and I thought, you know what? She's so right. So I said, no, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know what this is going to look like, but I'm not giving up on my goals. I said we were going to build a national area, and I can't let people down, because you see, you guys, it's not just about us. Whoever's life is destined to us, it's about them. And so in that Cadillac, I made that decision. You know what? No, I don't know what it's going to look like, but I'm going to stay obedient to the purpose. I'm going to stay obedient to the calling. I'm going to just put one foot in front of the other. It's like I talked to Leah one day and I said, Leah, we look at the full staircase. We don't have to look at the staircase. We have to look at one step at a time, just one step at a time. This step today. And then tomorrow, this step today. That's what we have to do. And that's how I decided to do this. So I hooked up to chemo and at the same time ran full out toward Nashville. In 15 months, we finished. And I'm gonna tell you this. I truly believe, looking back, had I made the other decision, it wouldn't have been wrong, but I probably wouldn't be having this conversation with any of you. And I'm gonna tell you why. It wouldn't have been wrong, but which one made a bigger difference to the lives of a lot of other people? I believe the choice I made. Secondly, I often wonder, had I taken the other fork in the road in the other decision, maybe it wouldn't have been wrong. Or would have it been? Would have that allowed the enemy to win? Would I really be here today physically had I allowed the enemy to win? Because you see, when we're destined for something great, God uses his strongest warriors to do something great. And I think by making that decision, the right decision was going national. I think it was like God saying, yes, she's a warrior. So when we feel like throwing in the towel, or when we feel like not being obedient and we go, oh, I'll put it off till tomorrow, I think we need to stop ourselves and say, no, not another day. No, I am destined. I am called. Sometimes, you guys, I don't even know what I'm doing if it's the right thing. I'm telling you, Annika, as a matter of fact, she called me this morning. She said, Mom, what are you doing? I'm saying, I'm just stirring up. I'm just stirring things up. Because sometimes that's all I do is just stir things up because I don't know what to do. Does that make sense? Okay, so sometimes we just need to stir things up. But that's not when we just settle back and go, okay, I'm just whatever. This isn't working for me. Woe me. Too bad. No, we need to be on purpose. I don't know how it's going to turn out. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I'm going to stir things up. I don't have to look at the whole staircase, but I do have to take this next step.
So Nancy, if you were talking to a consultant who's maybe been a consultant for a while, or a new consultant, either one, maybe a consultant that's been in the business for a while, hasn't gotten where she's wanted to get to, or maybe she really just kind of let Mary Kay slip away but still has a little tingle in her heart, or that new consultant who thinks, well, she could do it, but what about me? What advice would you give that consultant?
Well, the first thing I would ask the consultant to do is to look into her heart and go, okay, if where you are today, if that's where you are going to be in 5 years, how does that make you feel? And if that don't make her feel good, then what would make you feel good? I would get her to dream, and I would say, okay, let's dream. What do you want your life to look like in 5 years? What do you want it to look like in 5 years? What do you want to look like in next year? You know, take it back smaller if you, or closer if you need to. And then you take it back, and then I would show her then, okay, because it's a business that's mathematical, you guys. Every business is mathematical. You take it back to the math of what it can do to change her life. So, for example, if somebody said, well, I'm living in an apartment, I'd really like to be in a house. Well, what does that look like? What do you need to get into a house? Like a $100,000 house, a $200,000 house? What is it that you want? Well, 200,000. Okay, so what does that look like? Well, I need a down payment. Okay, normally it's 20%, so that's $40,000. Okay, could you get excited if I could show you how to earn $40,000 this year in Mary Kay? And then I would show her how to earn $40,000 this year in Mary Kay.
So what I want y'all to notice is that when Nancy started this business, there was a stirring in her heart, and she just didn't allow it to go away. She allowed that stirring to drive her forward. And even when there was an obstacle, even when she didn't feel like it, even when she didn't know what to do, she allowed the stirring in her heart to drive her forward. Because wouldn't you agree, Nancy, if we don't go forward, we don't stand still.
No, we don't. We go backwards. And on that note, you guys, I want you to really listen to me here. I never, ever, ever, ever had the luxury of somebody else paying my bills. Ever. I was the supporter. I was one that made the house payments. I'm the one that put my kids in parochial school. I'm the one that made sure they were in dance. I'm the one that made sure they had the latest boots on their little feet. I'm the one. I never had the luxury of mama paying my way, daddy paying my way, a husband paying my way. It was me. And there's times, I'm going to be frank, I'm going to be honest here. There was times that I used to go to bed and go, I just want somebody to take care of me. I just wish I had somebody to take care of me. I'm not telling anybody that I've never had those thoughts back when. I did. But I didn't have that luxury. I'm going to tell you, it's a dangerous luxury that I think some women get themselves in. They think they are supported. And I'm not saying everybody's going to end up divorced. I'm not that jaded, you guys. But what I'm saying is we don't know what our future holds. We don't know what could happen. And if you have the luxury of somebody supporting you, go you. Go you. But I'm going to tell you, I had to stay motivated. I had to stay motivated because I didn't have that luxury. And so really, it was a blessing to me. It was a blessing to me. I became a national because I say a lot of that reason was because I didn't have the luxury to not make that kind of income. Plain and simple, you know? We have to be really careful that we're not stepping into who God's calling us to be because of the luxury of not having to. Does that make sense? And I was not always motivated. I'll tell you what, you guys, I was not always motivated. I had to get self-motivated. There was days I had to talk myself into getting self-motivated because I like to eat. I like to where I lived, you know? I had to self-motivate. So long time, I'm a big one on notes and affirmations, and it still is a national. You can look around my house, just like right here. I've got notes everywhere, sticky notes, little affirmations all over my house. But a big one that I did years ago, and I still have it, it's stuck to my bedside. or nightstand next to my bedside. And every morning I roll over, and it's the first thing that when I open my eyes, I see it. And what it says is, Nancy, who will you bless today? Who will you serve today? And how are you going to win today? When I hop up, and so the first person that kind of pops into my mind is generally the person I give a call to. And it's not always, you guys, it's not always Mary Kay people. It's not always customers or consultants or directors. Or I'm going to tell you, yesterday I called somebody. I haven't talked to her in probably 15 years. And then I didn't have her number. So I went through Facebook Messenger and left her a message. And oh my goodness, what it did to her spirit. And there again, it's what we throw out into the lives of others will come back to us over and over and over again. But it also aligns our mind. It's kind of like stirring things up. You know, I talked about that. I'm just stirring things up. It's kind of the stirring things up thing. Get it? And by doing those stirring things up things, we get motivated, because motivation comes from action. It's not action first and then motivated. Nope, it's the opposite.
Exactly. Because if we wait to be motivated,
never gonna happen. I can sit here and drink coffee all day long.
I mean, that's one of the funniest things that I mean, I raised boys. So, you know, to motivate sometimes boys. But anyway, it just is, you can't wait till you're motivated, because that doesn't happen. We are not naturally self-motivated people. I don't think anybody is. It's a choice. Motivation is a choice. It's a choice to go to work every day. But when you do, there's great blessings.
That's right. And I'm going to tell you another thing, you guys. There's, when I can look back at the 22 years and I reflect back and I think, oh my goodness, I'm so glad that I was obedient to this business. You know, my kids knew my life before Mary Kay, and they knew my life after Mary Kay. And for my daughters to want this business in their own life, you know, National Sales Director Annika Krafka is my daughter. And then Alyssa Rumchek is the sales director. She's my daughter. And for them to want Mary Kay in their lives, I think it speaks volumes about the business. But I'm going to tell you what, you guys, I believe it speaks volumes about their mama. And we know there's so much, kids catch so much more than what they're taught. And I have daughters that do not use any of life's situations as an excuse to not be great.
Because they were taught. I mean, because they watched you.
They watched, and they seen the transformation of our lives change throughout it. But I believe they also seen what their mother was made of. You know, they seen what their mama was made of. And then when we became a national area and we debuted on stage, I'm going to tell you one of the proudest things. My mom and my sister got to come to seminar too. And my mom, she was just like, she's so proud. And my mom's 91. When I started Mary Kay, and I think I had just got into my red jacket, and we were at a meeting. We were at a meeting, and of course I brought my mom because, you know, she was my fan, my cheerleader. I got my red jacket. Anyway, Mary Beth was going around the room, you know, asking consultants, tell me what your goal is and where are you going to do it, because I'm hot, too hot to stop. Okay.
I just loved this. I wish it was recorded.
I do too. My mother, she wasn't a consultant, but got to her and she said, I don't remember what she said. I don't remember what life was, but she says, because I'm hot, too hot to trot. It cracked me up. I still laugh every time I think about it. The whole place just roared.
And the funny thing about that is she just popped up because consultants were popping up, and she just popped up, and she because she was. And
I'm going to tell you something. Here's another lesson, you guys. My mother was in a company. Well, I'll tell you what the name of the company was. It's called Sasco, is what it was. And my mom and my grandma and my aunts were big in this company. And they went to Dallas for conventions. They were doing big things.
I didn't know this.
Yes. And I was in it for a little while too. Prior to Mary Kay days.
How did I not know this about you?
Because I didn't share it. And I'm going to tell you why I didn't share it. a little bit of the reason why is because I was embarrassed because the company went bankrupt. The company went bankrupt and left us kind of high and dry. And I remember I came in with like $3,000 or $3,600 over the product with that company. And so I got a little bit burned. You never knew this, Mary Beth? I guess.
No, you have
Okay.
never shared this with me. I cannot
Yeah.
believe it. I mean, there's not very many things that you say that really surprise me.
Uh-huh. And so, and it was when the girls were real little. And my mother, they were big into Sasco. And my mother has shared with me many, 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 many times. She wishes, well, she said, you know, as big as she was into Sasco, my dad, bless his heart, fabulous man. So I don't want to paint this any wrong, but
Right.
old school. He liked to keep tabs on my mom. You know, he liked her home. He liked, you know, and what she could have done if she wouldn't have had him on her tailcoat. He went with her to a lot of things. You know, he drove her. He was that sportive. But, you know, a woman can do anything without a man. But if she has a man that's not supportive, they need to sit down and have a talk in today's life, in today's world. Come on.
Joe
Let's get real.
wasn't supportive. You know, I mean, my husband is fabulous now. I mean, he could give husband lessons.
Yeah.
But I trained him because he was not in the beginning. But
Right.
the more money you make, if
That's
they're
right.
a good man, if they're a good,
That's right. You know, I didn't have a good man.
you're right.
But my mom has said to me numerous times, she says, I so wish I would have been introduced to Mary Kay. What I could have done in that company. Because she did great things at Sasco with my dad on her coattails all the time. Just imagine what she could have done with Mary Kay.
Absolutely.
You know? And so when she stood on that stage with me, and she did happen to tell Nathan Moore backstage too, oh my goodness, I wish somebody had offered this to me, because Nathan shared that with me later, that she'd shared that. You know, so who are we not sharing this company and this opportunity to? We are a blessing in somebody's life if we allow ourselves to be. Plain and simple.
Well, Nancy, thank you so much for all your words of wisdom. I know that I'm going to be getting, oh yeah, I'm getting, Hope's been watching. Hi, Hope. But it was so much fun to spend this time with you, and you've been such a blessing in my life. Thank you for blessing me.
Me too, in my life. And when I debuted on stage, you know, I still just get goosebumps when I think about it. Debuted on stage with all my kids, and I debuted with, you know, my kids and my mom and my sister, who were big cheerleaders and big fans. And then to have Mary Beth and Hope. Hope was on stage with me too, because our national area is the Hope national area. And had Hope not invited me, had Hope not, you know, made sure, and she was adamant about getting me there. Had she not been adamant about getting me to career conference, you guys show up to every single event. If you're not showing up to events, it is telling your family, it is telling your customers, and it is telling your unit team members, your sisters, consultants,
and your
subconscious brain, that it is not important to you, that you do not take your business serious, that you're a Girl Scout in this business. Mm-hmm. When you attend things, it's a subconscious thing for yourself, but don't thank your customers and your family, and don't notice the difference. Always, always, always attend everything. And I'll, you know, leave me on this note. You guys, in 22 years, I have never missed anything. The one thing that I was the closest to missing was the fall advance one year. Annika was up for homecoming queen. And it was up by Yankton, South Dakota somewhere. And I remember I went to the coronation, did the whole homecoming thing, because that's once in a lifetime thing. You know, I didn't want to miss it. And so I went to her homecoming thing, got in my car. I'd already packed my bags for a dance. I got in my car like at 10 o'clock at night, and I drove all the way up north because I thought at least I could be there late and not miss Saturday and Sundays. You know, I've thought about that. I mean, it was like I was tired. I drank a lot of coffee all the way there. But the point being is, I wanted more in my life. And I felt like if I didn't attend these things, it was like somebody was going to get ahead of me. Kind of in a sense, is kind of how I felt. It's like I was going to miss something. You got to have that down in your spirit. So that was the closest I ever come to missing anything. In 2018, I had my hip replaced in July, right a week before seminar. 7 days later, I got on a plane and I went to seminar. I know it was not up for, like I told my oncologist, I know it's not up for, whatever the words I use. It's not going to be popular. I said,
Right.
no, this is going to be popular, but I am going. It's not up for public debate. So you just set me up for success. So she put me on a little blood thinner and told me to wear these fancy little stockings, and I was on my way. Okay. I come home, had the upper femur bone replaced. Turned around in November, I had to have my knee replaced. 3 weeks later, I had half my lung removed. And 2 weeks after that, I was in San Diego for leadership conference. And I'm not telling you these things to say, oh, Nancy's woohoo, superwoman. No, I'm telling you these things because when you have a passion and a purpose and a drive for more in your life and for those of others, you don't miss things. You
Right.
show up. And which one is the biggest testimony? And I guess if I have to go through this garbage, because we're going to go through garbage, we all are. And I figure if I have to go through this garbage, I would rather be a testimony for the test in a positive way.
Yeah. And you are, Nancy.
Thanks. So are you, Mary Beth.
Isn't it great we can toot each other's horns?
Yes.
Well, thank you so
Okay.
much. I know the Finest is going to appreciate you and on here, but
Hey, you're going to Jam. You're going to be at
yes,
Winter
we're
Jam with
going
us?
to Winter Jam.
Woohoo!
Yes,
Get them in. Let's go, girls.
yes, we are. We are coming to Winter Jam. I know we've got consultants already committed, so
Awesome. Yay.
they're not going to stay away. So
You don't want to miss it.
that's right. Okay, thanks a lot, Nancy. Love you.
Yeah. Love you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.